All right, we really are going to start now. Welcome, everybody, to the Seniors Coordinating Council of the DNC. For those of you who are used to seeing my pal Steve Regenstrife up here, he is not here today because at a family function his wife took ill and then everybody got COVID. So Steve handed it off to me. You may be familiar with me. I'm one of the 3 vice chairs, the other 2 of whom are also here, of the Seniors Council. My name is John Bauman. I'm president of Social Security Works. Oh, thanks. I'm president of Social Security Works PAC, as well as being one of the vice chairs of the Seniors Council. But many of you probably are more familiar with me as Bowser, formerly of the musical group and TV show Sha Na Na. So, and after Sha Na Na, I hosted like a whole raft of television shows that ultimately got canceled. But, you know, I'm fairly used to doing the hosting function, so I think Steve passed it off to me for that reason. I also, like many people in this room, in fact, you'll probably never be in a room that has more people who are experts on senior issues. So here in my dotage, I have even become an expert on senior issues, working on Social Security, Medicare, drug prices, 24/7, and this is what's of interest to all of us here in this room. So, for those of us who work on these issues, as well as for everybody else in America, the best result we can possibly have in November is for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to end up doing this. Because can you believe that I have been making a living for over 55 years doing this? God bless America. And yes, you know that I love the music of the 50s and the early 60s. And in fact, right after this meeting, we're going to gavel in this meeting, we're going to have the regular Seniors Council meeting, but right after this meeting, we're going to have an entirely other meeting in this room, so just stay here. You know, this will be around 3 o'clock, we hope, with a lot of people from doo-wop world, rock and doo-wop world. We're going to call it the Boomers for Harris Walz Rock and Doo-wop Party. And it's really going to be enjoyable. A lot of friends of mine are here, you know, who are going to be part of that meeting. You're going to love hearing from them and meeting them. And they're going to tell you why, in their opinion, the right thing to do in November is to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Because that is, of course, the right thing to do in November for everybody. So right now, I'd like to introduce all the officers of the Seniors Council who are here. Maria Cordone is here. She is Executive Vice Chair of the Seniors Council and for many years, Director of the Machinist Retirees. Next to her, we have Max Richmond, Vice Chair of the Seniors Council, President and CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. Next to Max, we have Rich Fiesta, Vice Chair of the Seniors Council and Executive Director of the Alliance for Retired Americans. Next to Rich, we have Todd Crenshaw, Executive Board Member and the Director of the National Education Association Retirees. And also up here on the dais, we have Judy Beard, the Secretary of the Seniors Council, Political and Legislative Director of APWU, the American Postal Workers Union. So I want to acknowledge the other officers who are in this room and executive board members, but we do have someone who's dropped in who I think we need to acknowledge first, because he is one of the most outstanding chairs that we've ever had at the DNC. And he's always kind enough to stop into the Seniors Council because he always tells really personal stories about why older Americans were so important in his life. And I got to admit, you know, I've he's made me start tearing up pretty much every time he shows up, so no pressure. But please welcome our wonderful DNC chair, the one and the only Jamie Harrison. This is a good beginning.
Thank you, my friend. And thank you, Democrats. You know, you can always know when you've been to a good party when you no longer have a voice. And right now I'm struggling to keep mine. But the staff is saying, well, Mr. Chair, we got to go over to the United Center. And I asked, well, what caucus and council meetings do we still have left? And they said, the senior caucus, or a senior council. And I told them, I have to stop by the senior council. And the reason why, is because this council is near and dear to my heart. You know, I was raised by my grandparents, and they are always at the center of who I am. I am who I am because of them. My grandma, who's still with us, and who's at a nursing home in my hometown of Orangeburg, South Carolina. Grandma had an 8th grade education. She picked cotton, cleaned homes. My grandfather had a 4th grade education, and he paved roads. This year, November 18 of 2024, will be 20 years since I lost my grandfather, since he passed away. I think one of the things that I used to do with my grandfather was to go vote. It's something that was a tradition that we would do when I turned 18. And I remember one of the last things that I did with my grandfather before he passed away was to vote in the 2004 election. That year I had graduated from law school at Georgetown, was working in Jim Clyburn's office at the same time. And I hadn't been home in a while, meaning I hadn't been living in South Carolina in a while because I was in Washington, D.C. And I just missed seeing my grandparents on a weekly basis. And so there was a United States Senate race at that time, Inez Tenenbaum versus Jim DeMint. And this was a race that Clyburn was particularly interested in, and he said to me, he said, listen, I want you to go back down to South Carolina. You can take a leave from my office, work with the South Carolina Democratic Party and Inez to see if we can get Inez elected. And I was elated because what that meant was that I could go back home and spend some time with my grandparents. My grandfather's health had been diminishing at that point in time because he had gotten diagnosis that he had diabetes. And shortly after the diabetes notice or diagnosis, because he waited so long and didn't get it for so long, he eventually had to get amputations. Amputated part of his leg and some toes off of one foot. So that meant that he was wheelchair bound. My grandfather was one of those men that was strong, never really cried, but when he did, you knew it was something. And I remember while I was in college and him telling me, or at law school, and telling me about going to the doctor and having the doctor talk down to him. Because again, he didn't have a whole lot of formal education. And I always felt this need to protect and defend my grandparents. We had this symbiotic relationship. I could read well at a very early age, and they couldn't. And so they took care of me, but I took care of them as well. They lived and didn't have a whole lot. That same year, John, I kept a promise that I had made to them years ago. When I was in 5th grade, they got kicked out of their home because a con man conned them out of their mortgage payments. Every month, my grandfather would work hard. He didn't have a bank account, but he would take his money and go to the post office and get a money order. And then my grandmother would take the money order to the guy to fill out to send to the mortgage company. But instead of sending it to the mortgage company, he kept it. So for months, they would get these letters, and I would read the letters and tell my grandma what they meant or what they said. I didn't always knew what they meant. I could read it, and she knew what it meant. They got it for months. She went to the place and said, hey, listen, we're getting these letters that's saying that a mortgage isn't being paid. But she said, I have all of these receipts from the money orders. He said, oh, Miss Harrison, don't worry about it. It'll be okay. There's something wrong with their computer systems. And then finally, we get a knock on the door one day. And it's the sheriff. And he says, Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, I'm sorry to inform you that the bank is foreclosing on your home. And you have this number of days to move out. One of those times I saw my grandfather crying. And I was devastated. We were forced to sleep on the floor, on the couches of family members for months. And I made a promise to myself that if I ever got a good job and a good education, that I was going to buy my grandparents a house. That happened in 2004. I picked my grandfather up from the house. My grandma was in the back seat. His wheelchair was in the trunk. Got him in the car, August 2004. Rolled into the yard. I took them over to the, as they say, the good side of Orangeburg. And there's this bright yellow canary house, ranch style. And my grandfather said to me, boy, whose house are we going to? I said, well, Mr. Bookie, it's yours. Now he said, boy, you better stop shitting me. I said, no, sir, it's yours. I said, I bought this for you and Miss Bookie. That was my nickname for them. And we get out. I get him up on the porch and roll him around the house. And then brought him back out on the porch. And he sat on that porch and just smiled. My grandfather got a chance to live in that house and love that house for a few months. Because we voted that November, one of the last things I did with him. Went back to D.C., and I got a call one day. It was I think it was the 17th of November. I was working in Mr. Clyburne's office. My grandma said, Jamie, I need you to come home as soon as you can. Your grandfather has been admitted, and I don't know how long he's going to last. I got on a plane, flew from D.C. to Columbia, rented a car, drove to Orangeburg, went to the Orangeburg Regional Hospital. My grandma said, Jamie, come on in. He's been waiting for you. I went over and said, Mr. Bookie, I love you. And I held his hand, and he squeezed mine, and he took his last breath. My friends, when I think about why I do this, it's not for a title. It's not to win an election. I do this because of people like my grandparents, people who society may not think have much value because they don't have college degrees, they don't have big titles, they don't have a whole lot of money. But these are the people who make this country great. And this is why I want you to know why I will always come to this caucus, even if I don't have a voice. Because you are the heart of this nation. I stand on your shoulders. I would not be here but for folks like you. Because of all of the hardships, all of the hard roads that you helped pave to make it easy for me, so that I can make it easy for my young boys. And that is who we are as a party. Because we leave nobody behind. We fight for every single person, regardless if you're newborn or you're in your senior years. That is who we are. That is why we are so great. And the thing that I love about this party is because we got leaders. Leaders like Joe Biden. Leaders like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Leaders that are going to do everything in their power. Because, my friends, in the end, they see us. They hear us. But most importantly, they value us. And because they value us, they fight for us. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for always supporting this Democratic Party. Thank you for always supporting even little round-headed boys from Orangeburg, South Carolina. We're going to win this race. We're going to win this election because the other guys is a party built on fear. But my friends, we are a party built on hope. And in the end, as they say in the Bible, sorrow may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. Thank you all for all that you do for this party. Thank you for building the foundation which we stand on. Thank you for standing up for what is right. Thank you for allowing us to stand up and be a voice for each and every one of you. Thank you for fighting for us. Thank you for being joyful warriors. Thank you for standing up and not being silent in the face of hatred and bigotry and division. Thank you, Senior Council, for all that you have done for this great nation, because it is you that has made America great, not some bigoted former president, 34-count convicted felon. It is you that makes this country great. And so from the bottom of my heart, I'm going to do everything. From the bottom of Kamala Harris's heart, she's going to do everything to make sure that we continue to stand up and fight for each one of you. Because, my friends, when we fight, we win. Let's go win this, seniors.
Well, he did it again, so hold on. Let's hear it for Jamie Harrison.
Oh, yes,
That's important.
You can get right here in the middle.
Before we get back to the festivities.
Yeah.
But you're taller than him.
You're perfect for it.
Smile if you're a singer. Why is Jamie smiling hard?
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, one more.
Okay.
One more?
Thank you, everybody.
Then look right here for Jamie's.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Let's let him go. Sorry, I missed you. No, God.
No.
I'll see you on the floor, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, let's hear it one more time for Chair Jamie Harrison, who claims he has no voice, but what a powerful voice he really has. And he is going to preside over this party in the most thrilling election of our lives. 2008 was something, but 2024 is going to be really something. And because this is the country that we love, everybody stand now. Maria Cordone is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hands on heart. Stand straight. God love you. Those who can stand. Thank you. I pledge allegiance. Thank you.
Now, we all know that what's on the table in November, and we all know the issues that we fight for. Obviously, the Biden-Harris administration has been the best administration for American seniors in over half a century. Just no question about it. Let's hear it for the Biden-Harris administration. It's very easy to tick off the accomplishments of this administration. Most obviously in the Inflation Reduction Act, we all know $35 insulin for people on Medicare. Medicare negotiating for the first time in American history with drug companies to lower the prices, and I'm sure you saw last week the results of those negotiations. They are actually spectacular, and in the future, we'll have more and more and more until all pharmaceuticals are covered. And the $2,000 cap that begins in January for every individual where you can't spend more than $2,000 a year on your prescription drugs. This is historic. Coming up in this next administration, we have to not only expand Medicare and do more of this kind of work on drug prices, but we also do have to take on Social Security. There is no one in America who has worked harder on Social Security than our next guest. And I'm going to introduce, he is going to be introduced. Hold on, I gotta make sure I have the right people introducing the right people. He is going to be introduced by Max Richmond, the President and CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. But really, really, really listen to every word that our next guest has to say.
Thank you, John. I'm Max Richmond with the Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. I don't know if I'm the right person to introduce Congressman John Larson, but I am very honored. I'm very honored to introduce a very good friend of mine and a good friend of seniors, John Larson. Congressman Larson represents the 1st District of Connecticut in his 12th term. He was the chairman of the Social Security Ways and Means Subcommittee, and I got my fingers crossed that next year he'll be the chairman again.
Yes.
Yes, let's hear it for John. So just the drawback to having John speak before me is he's going to say everything that has to be said about Social Security. There won't be anything left to say for me, but I'll do my best, Congressman. One thing I wanted you to know is he has traveled the country with members of Congress supporting his legislation that he'll talk about. And this is really rare. He puts out a pamphlet at each of these events, and he's done many, many of them all over the country. And the co-sponsor is listed at the very top of the pamphlet, right, John? As the main sponsor. It is very rare in Washington to have a member of Congress want to share credit about anything, let alone give someone all the credit. And he's doing it because he believes in the issue, believes in his legislation, and wants to get it adopted. So I'll give you a great friend of seniors, Congressman John Larson.
Well, thank you, Max. Boy, it's great to be here. What a week, huh? Were those speeches outstanding? I mean, just when you think about it, you know, it's what makes us a great nation, what makes this democracy so vibrant. But as all of them emphasized, especially Michelle, the real work still needs to be done. James Carville addressed us the other morning, and he said, look, I know how excited and enthusiastic everybody is, and Democrats always win August, he said, but the important thing is to win November. Don't you agree? And here's why. Here's why, as Max pointed out. The nation's #1 anti-poverty program for the elderly and for children is Social Security. It is also the program for disability that more veterans rely on than they do the VA. The genius of Franklin Delano Roosevelt is still with us. His vision after the Great Depression was that no American, especially in our system that encourages risk-taking, that is entrepreneurial and capitalistic, needs that safety net so that nobody who works hard all their lives and pays into a system will know that there's a pension that's there for them. And you know, everyone used to say, that's great, Larson, but you know, this isn't 1929. And we just celebrated the 89th birthday of Social Security. It's 1935. I said, that's right. But we don't have to go back to 29. How about we go back to 2008 and 2009 when people saw their 401k become a 101k. And during that time, Social Security never missed a payment. Not a pension payment, not a disability payment, not a spousal payment, not a dependent child payment, because it is America's #1 insurance policy. Think of these numbers. Close to 70 million Americans are on Social Security. But think of this as well. For more than 40% of them, the only benefit they have is Social Security. That's 28 million Americans whom without Social Security would be in poverty. For more than 5 million Americans, 5 million of your fellow citizens, most, and look at this audience, women, get below poverty level checks from their government on Social Security because Congress hasn't acted in more than 53 years to improve and enhance the program. Have a few things happened since Richard Nixon was President of the United States? Doesn't it get you fired up and ready to go? I'll tell you one thing, with 10,000 baby boomers a day becoming eligible for Social Security, you better have a plan for Social Security because the American people demand it. It's your responsibility, yours meaning Congress, to make sure that our citizens have a plan that they know is always there for them. Why? You know, the other side likes to say, well, it's an entitlement. Bless you. Of course it's an earned benefit. And how do we know this? We know this because all we have to do is look at that paycheck and it says FICA. What does that stand for? Federal Insurance Contribution. Whose? Yours. And when they get out the violins and they say, oh, but the business community plays part of it, they do. They pay half of that, for which they get an entire tax write-off. So in essence, this is, as President Biden has called it, a sacred trust between the American people and their government. It has never missed a payment. It is still extraordinarily solvent, but for the fact that the members responsible for that solvency haven't taken an action since 1971 to enhance the program. I know some of you are going, wait a minute. What about 1983? Didn't Tip and Bob Dole? Yes. They got together with President Reagan, who, remember, called it socialism, but Dole told them, no. Here's what we'll do. This program is too popular with the American people. If we just raise the age, which they did back in 1983, that'll extend the solvency. But the great trick is back then, of course, raising the age, as they like to say today, well, people are living longer. Yes, indeed. Isn't that great? And so, therefore, they should be working longer. Well, in some professions, I'm sure that that's possible and maybe even preferable. But as Americans know, especially smart Americans, for every year you raise the age, as the Social Security actuaries, not politicians, the actuaries will tell you, it cuts benefits by 7%. So to raise the age to 70 is a 21% across the board cut. So because you're living longer, you should live on less? Come on. That doesn't make any sense at all, and that's why we're fighting so hard to make sure that Social Security 2100 gets turned into law, that we have an increase across the board for everyone, and that also no one can ever retire into poverty, as those 5 million Americans who paid into the system and get a below poverty level check. Most of them, again, being women, because they were at home caring for their families, and when they were in the workforce, they got paid significantly less than their male counterparts. Under our legislation, under President Harris's administration, all 5 million will be lifted out of poverty, and the new floor for Social Security will always be 125% of what the poverty level is, because of the work of people like Max. And Social Security works in so many organizations that understand just how vital and important Social Security is. I say to my Republican colleagues all the time, Bob Dole was a smart man. He recognized the importance of this program, not only as a pension benefit, but I give, as Max pointed out, every member of Congress their own Social Security card. You go, wait a minute, how can you do that? I said, well, their card becomes, how many Social Security recipients do you have in your district? Of those Social Security recipients, how many get a pension? How many get spousal? How many get dependent coverage? And how many get disability coverage? And then here's the key, and listen closely to this. What do you think Social Security brings into every congressional district? All 435 of them on a monthly basis. And it varies depending upon your population of seniors. But do you know what the average is? How much money comes into a district on a monthly basis? It's in excess of $200 million. Now let me ask you, where do they spend that money? They spend that money right back in the district, at the pharmacy, at the grocery store, getting gasoline, paying rent, paying mortgages, etc. So it is also the best economic development plan that we could have in any congressional district. And seniors and citizens across this nation got to speak loud and clear and say what we want is a vote on Social Security so we know where you stand. Are you in favor of making sure that there's economic development in our community? Are you in favor of making sure all this talk about, oh, we love Social Security and we want to make sure that we're there to protect and preserve it? What have you done? Oh, well, you know, we love it and we're going to have, and everybody gives you the fluffy duffy. How about a vote? How about do what you were elected to do? How about when you go to Washington, D.C., demand a vote on the program that will allow people to retire into dignity, that will preserve families during catastrophic times, that is there with disability, that helps more veterans out even than the VA. This is why the genius of Roosevelt and this compact, this sacred trust between the people and their government is so vitally important. I'm proud of Democrats who are united both in the House and Senate behind legislation and an executive branch that will make this law. But it's going to take the work of all of us in this room, not just talking about what can become law, but about the responsibility of a vote. We just don't want to know whether or not you favor a proposal or not. We want to know, will you fight for its vote and its enactment? Call for a vote. Call for the enactment. Stand up for what is rightfully yours, what you worked all your life for and put in that blood, sweat, and tears for. What Roosevelt envisioned and what you have earned throughout a lifetime. America's #1 anti-poverty program for the elderly. The #1 anti-poverty program for children. The disability program that more veterans rely on than the VA. How could a Congress possibly turn its back on the more than 70 million Americans that rely on Social Security? I pledge to you that Harrison Walls, Tim Walls is an original co-sponsor of Social Security 2100 because he got it way back when. That no one should retire into poverty. And yes, we should repeal weapon GPO for teachers and police departments and firefighters. It was an anachronism back in 1983 when they put it in there. Why would you deny people benefits that they've worked for and contributed to? And guess what they're going to do with those benefits? Spend them right back in the communities that they live in. This is why it is America's most successful insurance plan. And now the other thing, they say, oh God, we're concerned about waste and fraud. Hold on to your seats. I live in one of the insurance centers of the world in Hartford, Connecticut. Right? You probably heard of a few companies there, the Aetna, the Travelers, I could go on and on, the Hartford. But let me tell you something. You know what it takes? I ask them all the time, what are your administrative costs for your insurance programs? Anywhere from 15 to 25 or 26% to administer an insurance program. They're very good at it. They're very successful. There's some great insurance programs. What is the administrative budget of America's largest insurance program? Those so-called inept people and don't that government program, what do they get to administer Social Security with? You got your hand up. Yes. Good guess. In its height, it was 1.2%. Under Republican control in the House, Commissioner O'Malley is operating with 0.95%. Administrative costs for the largest insurance program in the nation. And people say we're concerned, the Republicans say we're concerned about the long lines and the inefficiency. Yeah, and so you cut a budget whose administrative costs, can you name another governmental program? Better yet, when I say this to the insurance executives, they go, how could you possibly do that? So, I apologize. When I talk about this, I get a little wound up. And I'm a little over my limit, but imagine, for less than 1%, the greatest insurance plan in the history of our nation and what it provides. Rise up, Democrats. Take this message to the public and demand a vote. You're just the group to do it. God bless you. God bless America.
Okay, everybody, in case you're wondering who probably the strongest advocate in all of Congress for Social Security is, I mean, you could argue it. There's a couple of people in the Senate, but nobody even close in the House. The strongest advocate for Social Security in the House of Representatives is John Larson, period. That's just the way it's been for now a long time, specifically for that program. And understand that Social Security, before Social Security was passed in 1935, more than 50% of American seniors had incomes below the poverty line. That's obviously a disgraceful figure. So that figure has changed. John Larson's Social Security 2100 is a remarkable bill, and hopefully, remember, when we get people to vote for president, get people to vote all the way down the ballot, right? When Kamala Harris wins, it's not going to do us that much good if we don't hold the Senate and flip the House. So make sure that everybody you talk to votes all the way down the ballot. Critically important. Okay, now we got to move things along because we've got an awfully big program here, and we've got a program after the program. So our next guest is going to tell us about where we actually are in this election. You know, what the status, what this moment is. The moment is obviously in a big state of flux. But I'm going to introduce Judy Beard from the American Postal Workers Union, who will bring on our next guest, who will give us a lot of facts and figures about the stuff that you are most concerned about, I'm sure, coming into this convention. Where do we stand with seniors in America right now? So, Judy Beard, please come. Oh, here she is. And introduce our next guest.
Good afternoon. I am so excited about our next guest speaker, a person who, you know, if you have never met her before, not only are we going to learn a lot from her, but we're going to remember the words that she says to us so that we can repeat them to other people. She is Celinda Lake, who is the founder and president of Lake Research Partners, a firm that provides important facts about seniors. Celinda has worked for many members of Congress. She has worked for governors as well, and she has worked for local unions. So she knows a lot about the labor movement. She knows a lot about seniors. And from the research that she does, she knows a lot about why we do the things we do and why we vote the way we vote. Celinda has won many, many awards over the years. Recently, she has won she was introduced to the American Association of Political Consultants. She's received this huge award, and we appreciate all the work that she has done. So let's give her a warm applause for coming out here today.
We've got slides here for you.
Listen up to this. This is
A present for from pollsters. So let me start why we're getting the technology. First of all, I couldn't be more excited to talk to any group. And I was super excited until I realized I have to follow Congressman Larson and Jamie Harrison. Now I'm super intimidated. But I have slides, so there you go. Also, I want to say I'm doing lots of presentations. Okay, no problem. I'm doing lots of presentations this week. This is honestly the most important presentation I'm going to do. And I don't mean to put you under any pressure, but literally, it's up to this caucus. Winning and losing is up to this caucus. If we could improve the numbers 5 points to 10 points with seniors and older voters, we would have this thing won today. That's literally how important. And we have done better. We were doing better with a lot of groups. We are doing better with a lot of groups, younger voters, people of color, unmarried women under 55, women who like cats, a lot of different groups. There you go. A lot of different groups. We are doing better. Yes, there are a lot of us. Clearly, J.D. Vance has never watched videos on Facebook. So there are a lot of groups we're doing better with. But this is a group, actually, the older voters, particularly the ones over 70 and also women 50 to 59, where we are weaker than we have been at some points in time with President Biden. So it is absolutely critical that we get this vote, and everything you do is going to be important. It is also a vote that we have a pretty simple roadmap toward. And it's pretty clear how to go get this vote and what we need to say. It is also pretty clear these voters vote. They pay attention. They listen to messages, and they are subject right now to an unbelievable amount of advertising and misinformation, disinformation from the Trump campaign. We are really in a race with the Trump campaign to define Vice President Harris before they do to senior voters. It is literally the most important thing we can do. And of course, Trump is very wily. He doesn't care what he says, and he says every time he gets into trouble, he says stuff like, you know, he's for example, on the abortion thing, he goes, I'm not against abortion, I'm just for leaving it to the states. Thank God Arizona, I don't know how many people are from Arizona, God bless Arizona, but Arizona proved that the states are batshit crazy, so now people don't want to leave things to the states. He's also said, I'm not going to cut Social Security, but the 2025 agenda, his agenda, and the MAGA agenda showed what their true agenda is. So I think we're having some technical difficulties on the slides, but you don't need that. I'm going to tell you the numbers, and then you can get all of the slides afterwards from the council. So first off, 54% of Americans are enthusiastic about the election. That may not seem very good. That's actually a pretty good number. And our enthusiasm is now up with the enthusiasm of the Republicans. So Democrats are just as enthusiastic. Among seniors, that number is 74%. 74%. Now, there are some seniors that we need to get out to vote, and particularly seniors of color. But that said, this is a group that's going to show up. So we got to be sure that they show up for us. Exit polls show that seniors have voted more Republicans since 2010. Now, Biden narrowed the gap in 2020. He had a very aggressive, we still lost seniors, but we lost them by less than we had in the previous elections. We lost them by 5 points according to the exits. We are losing them by significantly more right now, depending on the poll and depending on the turnout model that you use. And again, there were certain points in time where seniors and older voters over 50 were slightly more supportive of Biden, particularly around some of the policies like the war in Gaza, et cetera, than Harris was. And people and seniors don't particularly have a feel for where Harris would be on seniors' issues. Now, they love her record on prescription drugs. First of all, they love her record as Attorney General. And one of the most important things we can talk about is that she was the tie-breaking vote on prescription drugs. But it didn't start there. It started when she was Attorney General and worked with other Attorney Generals to take on pharma and take down prescription drug prices. So she has a long history on that issue, and that history increases her credibility a lot. And people like her in AG mode. They think she's a dragon slayer. They think she's a fighter. They think she's a lioness when she's in AG mode. But they have no idea where she is on Social Security and Medicare. They assume she's for it, but they have no idea. And it's very, very important for us to say what the real choices are here. It is also very powerful to link Social Security and Medicare to other issues. For example, one of the biggest economic negatives against the Trump ticket is that they want a new tax break for the wealthiest and big corporations. And people think, really? Like they don't have enough tax breaks now? And they're not going to H&R Block for their, or TurboTax for their returns. They're going to accountants who are getting them out of everything anyway. They're not paying what they owe. But when you say, and that will lead to cuts in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, that is wildly unpopular with voters, as if it could get more unpopular. By the way, they keep running that Social Security is in trouble, Social Security is in trouble, and it's scaring people. It spooks people. We all know that if all we did was lift the cap, Social Security would be solvent for decades more. Exactly. And, by the way, it tests very, very well to call that tax another tax loophole. And nobody real knows there is a cap because nobody real makes that kind of money. So people assume that everybody pays all the way up. that's not true, of course. So it's very, very important and very possible. When we look in the battleground states, the polls are jumping around a lot. And in some of the battleground states, in part because of the work that you all have done, we are doing slightly better with seniors in the non-battleground states. But seniors are a very, very important vote in the battleground states. And if we volunteered, where are seniors important? We would be thinking of places, people will often volunteer like Arizona. The place that seniors are most important, Pennsylvania. Of all of the battleground states, Pennsylvania is the oldest. And Pennsylvania, the seniors are absolutely critical. We cannot put it together if we don't win Pennsylvania. And you know who knows that? They know it. They're putting more advertising into Pennsylvania and more disinformation into Pennsylvania by far than any other state in the country. So they know where their battleground is. Seniors originally had some questions about Harris, and we got a lot of seniors that are a little bit more reserved about electing an African American woman as president. And there's some implicit bias in seniors, and we saw that with Obama. I think we all worked really hard together to get seniors to vote for Obama, and in the end, they did. But there is a lot of implicit bias. So one of the things we need to do is make sure that seniors have information about the Trump record and that seniors know there are other people that are voting for Harris and Walz. One of the problems we've had until the enthusiasm now is that there were plenty of people voting for Biden. They were just quiet about it. So in towns that are 50-50 Democrat-Republican, the factory towns, we did a project with Mike Lux and American Family Values. We found that 60% that Democrats and Republicans thought by 20% that Trump outnumbered Biden. No, they were even. But they thought that Trump outnumbered Biden because they had the crazy-ass neighbor down the road who had the flag upside down and the yard sign up, and everybody else is a Biden voter all the way along, but they're going to keep their mouth shut. Like, who's going to confront crazy Uncle Joe? He's already hammering us, and we would unfriend him, but we're going to see him at Thanksgiving dinner. So, and Mom asked us, try not to start a fight with Uncle Joe. So we're trying not to do that. Seniors also say that they rely on friends and family for information. Well, we got to get seniors some new friends and family, or we got to get in that friends and family network. And particularly when we are confronting older Latinas, we need to get into WhatsApp. We are aggressive on some of our social media strategy. We are not on WhatsApp enough. If we had one thing to do to take away from here, get on WhatsApp and confront the misinformation to Latinos. What are the major issues that seniors are worried about? They're worried about the economy. They see Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid as economic issues. They are very worried about the rising cost of living. And seniors are more worried about immigration than other voters. Now, we could have a long conversation, preferably with alcohol, about immigration policy and immigration polling. But right now, we just need to drive home that Donald Trump took down the bipartisan bill that would have put more control at the border and created a pathway to citizenship. Many of us are for progressive immigration reform, and frankly, I'd love to talk with you after the election about that. But seniors are much more worried than any other member of our coalition about immigration. With a lot of other groups, when I'm there, I say, you know, immigration, yeah, they're raising it. It's a Republican issue. It's for their base, not with seniors. It's not true with seniors. Because they're worried about control, they feel threatened, all this language about flooding. They're worried about the linkage of crime and immigration. They run these stories heavy into seniors about, you know, the 21-year-old wonderful nurse who was killed by the quote-unquote illegal immigrant. So they're running them ragged and they're scaring them. They're also running right now a lot of crime ads, and they've just put up their crime ads to seniors. So we have to engage in this. Not to put too much pressure on you, but besides getting seniors, the key swing vote right now is women over 50, white, non-college educated women over 50. So not only do we have seniors, but we have to reach down, particularly for the women. The men are tough. There's going to be a big gender gap between men and women over 50. But we got to get the women, and they're really torn right now about who to vote for and who's on their side.
Why do you think that is when over 50 have some concern? Like, what are the...
Yeah, well, they're often the swing vote. Frankly, they're commonly the swing vote. They pay more attention to negative advertising. They're more influenced by that. They're risk averse. They think the economy is in pretty bad shape. They're really worried for themselves, and they're worried for their kids and their grandkids. So they're very worried about the future of the economy, and then they're worried that they don't have retirement. I mean, half of Americans, all American voters, do not have $500 in savings right now. People are really at the margins. They're very worried about property taxes, and they're getting killed because there are no property tax circuit breakers. So they're legitimately worried about things and worried that no one's on their side and no one gets it. Last thing I want to say, these are policies that are popular with seniors, the prescription drug piece, the Social Security and Medicare. It is true that young people do not think Social Security will be there when they get there. What people don't realize is they don't tell you the and but. But those young people really support Social Security because they don't have the money to support mom and dad and grandma and grandpa. You know, Jamie Harrison, that is an incredible story. I too cry every time I hear it. But most people aren't in a position to go buy a house for mom and dad or grandma and grandpa. So they are wildly supportive of Social Security and Medicare, even though they don't think they will get it. So what's your job? Go out there and get seniors and confront the negative advertising. By the way, do not repeat the charge. Do not repeat the charge, because when you do that, you increase the frequency. Start with our contrast. When you provide a contrast, remember, seniors and older non-college women don't know Harris very well. So do what we call a donut contrast. Positive, then the negative, then come back to the positive. Those ads are rated significantly less negative, and also fill in the blanks on Harris. And become friends and family of older women over 50, because they're listening to their friends and family, and they got some doozy friends and family. So we got to get into those networks. So thank you for all you do. It only depends on you, and I know you'll get the job done.
Celinda's just fantastic, and she's done this at the Seniors Councils over and over. Let's hear her one more time for Celinda Lake. Just wonderful. And, you know, you should know that Kamala Harris has a very long history on senior issues. We're going to be getting more and more information from the Harris campaign about her stance on all of these issues. In point of fact, Heather Booth is here today. She's standing up right over here. She is the Director of Seniors Engagement for the Harris Walls campaign. So, and she's fantastic. Going back to 2020 when Heather did this same job, she also does progressives and grassroots along with seniors. But going back to 2020 when Heather did this same job, I'm just going to add in real quick that there's a wrap-up of the elections that the major pollsters do for each campaign. And in that wrap-up of 2020, which John Anzalone for Biden and Tony Fabrizio for Trump, had these two events that I attended. They both, bucking up what Celinda just said, they both agreed with each other. They don't agree with each other about much, but they both agreed with each other that the difference in the 2020 election was that in 2016, Hillary Clinton, believe it or not, lost seniors in the battleground states by 13 points. Wow, which is hard to believe, but those are the numbers, according to exit polls. It's the only way we ever know. In 2020, Joe Biden lost seniors in battleground states by 5 points. And both of the major pollsters for the campaigns agreed with each other that that 8 points was the difference in the 2020 election. It wasn't young people turning out, it wasn't all kinds of million other things. It was those 8 points in the battleground states. And you know what? We can do even better than that this time. and we're going to. We have to. So we have to just put in the work. This really is about us, just like Celinda said. Now, we're going to move things along really quickly here because we're a little bit behind and we've got a lot to do today. But I said earlier that John Larson was probably the most Social Security focused person in the House of Representatives. We're now coming up to the most senior issues focused person in the entire House of Representatives for the longest time and with the greatest dedication. So to introduce her, I'm going to bring up Todd Crenshaw from the National Education Association.
Thank you, John, and good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce you to someone who has been a true champion of senior issues in her own home state here in Illinois. Jan Schakowsky represents the 9th Congressional District of Illinois and was first elected in 1998 and serves in the Democratic House leadership, serving as Chief Deputy Whip. She also is on the House Energy and Commerce Committee, which oversees Medicare, Medicaid, and is the ranking Democrat on Innovation, Data, and Commerce Subcommittee. One thing I want you to know about Congresswoman Schakowsky is that she has been a long-time advocate, not only for seniors, but for all people in the state of Illinois. She also is a member on the House Budget Committee. She fights against Republican efforts to cut senior programs. We're going to really need her to stand up and fight for the future so that not only is Social Security not cut, but that it is expanded and that it grows to benefit more people. An interesting story happened to me on my way into Chicago. When I took a taxi, the taxi cab driver found out that I was going to be introducing Congresswoman Schakowsky, and he wanted me, Jan, to say thank you. He and your office sponsored his citizenship. He wanted me, his name, by the way, is Rashid Shakir, and he wanted me to tell you that without your leadership, without your help and your office to help, he would not be a citizen of the United States. So not only is she a stalwart supporter of senior issues, she cares about all citizens here in Illinois and around the country. It is my true pleasure to introduce you to Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Whatever you wanted to. You're you.
Oh, I'm so grateful to be here today with all of you. I want you to know that I really began my career, first of all, as a teacher, so I am so proud to be introduced, yeah. But also, then I became the executive director of the Illinois State Council of Senior Citizens, which now is and let me just thank everyone. John Bowman, I'm so happy to be here with you, but I also, and Cecile, Celinda, who is actually my pollster, so thank you. Did she leave? I also definitely want to thank Max Richmond, and I want to thank Rich Fiesta, who is the director of the, now what are we? The Alliance for Retired Americans, but when I was, yay, the Alliance for Retired Americans, but I was the director of the Illinois State Council of Senior Citizens for many years. And so this is really my history. And now in the Congress of the United States, I have formed the task force
on Aging and Families that is now part of our caucuses in the House of Representatives. But really, what I wanted to talk to you really most about is politics, because we have to win this election. And I want to tell you, and let me say to Max Richmond, that you know I am on the budget committee, and you come to those budget committees. And really, every time we have a budget committee, it's how you're going to cut things that hurt Americans, including Social Security, Medicare, everything that we care about. And the last time they started talking about raising the age of Social Security, I said to my Republican colleagues, go after Social Security. Make my day. Make my day. Because there is not a person in the United States of America, young or old, and I want to tell you, I have 2 grandchildren when their mother tragically died, my daughter-in-law, and so it's a family insurance program too, because those kids got benefits until they were 18 years old, so that was great. But really, they want to cut Social Security, the most popular, the most used, the oldest. You heard about the anniversary for Social Security, and they want to cut it. Seriously, we want to say to them, go ahead and try it. Make my day, because there isn't a Republican or a Democrat who doesn't want their Social Security. And they certainly don't want the age of Social Security to go up. And you've heard earlier from John Larson, who really knows all the facts, that Social Security, the fact that they want to cut it means they want to take money out of your pocket. This is an earned benefit, and the Republicans act as if it is some sort of a gift to you that you should be grateful for, and they want to cut. They are wrong, aren't they? Yeah. Every paycheck, you earned that benefit. And so we have a long way to, or they have a long way, really, if we bring up Social Security. Can you pick that up? Thanks. In 2025, they tried to privatize Social Security. 2055, wasn't it? Was it? 2005. George W. Bush tried to privatize Social Security. But you know what? Seniors acted all over the country to a point that every time George W. Bush presented himself in person all over the country, guess who greeted them? Him. Senior citizens turned out to make sure that we were there to say, don't mess with our Social Security. It was so bad that they had to drop, after a few months, that effort to privatize Social Security. We won then, and we're going to win now, right? And what you heard from Celinda, was that 44% of all Americans are excited about this election coming up, but 74% of us, and I'm certainly one of you as a senior citizen and also a member of Congress, are excited about this election. We can do this. So when I say I want to talk about politics, I want everyone in this room to be thinking about what you are going to do to pass the word, to make sure that everyone you know, of course Democrats, but Republicans too, that there is danger for seniors if Donald Trump wins, no question about it. He has supported that. But there is nothing but benefit if we win this election and Democrats are in charge. So we can do this. It is now up to us. This is in our hands. And every single person in this room, everyone you know, certainly every senior, has an opportunity to make the difference. Are you ready to do that? Yeah. So that's exactly what we need going forward. A commitment on your part, and a commitment to be activists. A commitment to talk to friends about what really matters to them. I mean, there are a whole number of issues that you can talk about what is important for seniors. Let me see if I can find this. A number of issues that you can talk about to the seniors. And so you certainly want, you want to get to everyone, right? Yeah, okay. Just a couple more things. You know what the Biden-Harris administration has already done. Are any of you getting $25 a month insulin now? Or friends? I'm sorry. What? $35. Okay. You're trained. $35 a month for insulin. And now vaccines are without cost. So be sure, especially if you haven't had your shingles vaccine, definitely go and do that. We also know. I got a few more. Providing over-the-counter hearing aids. Now, I don't know if any of you have tried that, but it is more available than it was, because who wears hearing aids? Anybody in this room? Me? Okay, I do. I have my hearing aids. Can be very, very expensive, and now there are more opportunities to get low income and low cost benefits. Also, we are improving quality care in nursing homes, and the way that we're going to do it is to help the workers and to help the people who live there by setting staffing standards in hearing aids. Are you ready for that? Because I know that many of these nursing homes, they have too few people to take care of the people who are there. So we have a whole list of things that you can go out and talk to people. Ask them what they're concerned about and tell them that it's on the list. We are making sure that they happen. But the most important thing I want to say is that winning elections is not rocket science. It's really about three things: turnout, turnout, and turnout. Who's actually going to show up at the polls? And you'll hear the pundits and the pollsters say things like, oh no, it's really the margin of error. So you better worry about it because that margin of error is too close to call. We don't know who's going to win. You know what it really is? It's the margin of effort. The margin of effort. How much are we willing to fight? And I believe that you are. Are you ready to fight? Yes. And when we fight, we win. When we fight, is there anybody who speaks Spanish? Okay. No, okay, because you can say that in Spanish too. Cuando luchamos, ganamos. We want to make sure that our president and vice president to be use those as well. So we can win because we are winners, seniors, and we are the majority. So go to it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Jan Schakowsky, let's hear it. Yeah. She has been the longest serving, most dedicated person on seniors that there probably has ever been in Congress. It really is just remarkable. Here's a shameless plug, because we are running behind, but everybody stay where you are, because later on we're going to adjourn this meeting and we're going to go into a different meeting, which is this doo-wop event that I was asked to sort of create. We've got a lot of people here who you would probably like to meet. Gene Chandler, the Duke of Earl, is here. Jay Siegel, the guy who sang The Lion Sleeps Tonight as part of the Tokens, is here. Peggy March is here. Lala Brooks, the original lead singer of the Crystals, is here. We've got a whole raft of people that you're going to want to hear from, and a little bit of music, and also you're going to want to meet them all later. So please hang in. While we're stalled for just a quick minute, I want to acknowledge some of the people that we need to acknowledge who are part of the executive board. You've met most of the people up here on the dais. Also here, I hope, is Jim Sentner still. He's on the executive board of the Seniors Council. For many years, he was director of SOAR, S-O-A-R, the Steelworkers Retiree Organization. So it's always great to have Jim here. Also here is Jeff Cruz, Executive Board Seniors Council Director of AFGE Retirees. Jeff, where are you? He's in the back. I'm not sure if Chuck Degnan is here, all the way from Alaska. He's the leader of the Native American Caucus. I'm not sure if Chuck actually made it, or Michael White. Michael, you here? Oh yeah, there you are. Michael White always manages to show up. Even though he comes from the furthest away of anybody, he's on the executive board of the Seniors Council. He's also the DNC member from Saipan. And how far away is Saipan, Mike? 8,000 miles. So when you're all complaining, we're all complaining about how, we had a schlep here to Chicago. Imagine 8,000 miles for Michael White. Also here, who was a surprise, is Ling Lu. Ling Lu, it's you. She is the founder of, I believe, the Chinese American Caucus. Is that right? Yeah. And she's also on the executive board of the Seniors Council. And we weren't expecting her to be here, but here, in fact, she is. So it's a great day. This has been a great meeting. Everybody please hang in there, because we're going to have some fun a little bit later on. Right now, we're going to go to somebody you already met. We're kind of introduced to, but I've done events with this guy for, I don't know, about 20 some odd years. We both work with groups of people all around the country, and people who are on the ground. There are, I believe, 4.4 million members of the Alliance for Retired Americans. It is a gigantic organization of union members who are now retired. And to give you a PowerPoint presentation on the election, here is Rich Fiesta.
Yay, Rich!
Thank you, John. Virtual PowerPoint, because as we heard from Celinda, seniors are important, and especially in the battleground states. So we've brought a picture of the blue wall. It's right here. There it is. And it's important that seniors will continue to keep the blue wall high and blue. But first, I'm with the Alliance for Retired Americans, founded by the labor movement. A number of labor organizations have retirees. They belong to us. A lot of other people who think like us, who are here today, join us as well. We have a booth over in the display area. It's booth number 1324. Can anybody tell me what happened in 1324? I had to look it up. Marco Polo died that year. So, but if you come over and join us, or if you're a member, we have a Seniors for Harris t-shirt. And again, what's that number? 1324. So that's today's advertisement. Just want to talk briefly about the senior vote. Some of this Celinda already took care of, but year over year, which group turns out the most? Seniors. And the last presidential election, this is my virtual PowerPoint, 74% of people over 65 turned out. Take that to 18 to 24-year-olds, it was only 55%. That's almost a 20-point gap of turnout between younger voters and over 65. That's why we're seeing all the misinformation from the other side and the attention as well. Seniors, not only do they turn out in higher proportion of their population within a state, for example. So let's say in the last presidential election, in a state like Nevada, I'm doing bad, seniors are 22% of the eligible population to vote. That's a lower number. Nevada's a younger state. But they were 27%, bigger piece of the pie of people who actually turned out, of the actual electorate, eligible versus electorate. And it's in every battleground state and actually every other state in the country that seniors will turn out 5 or 6% higher than their actual numbers of eligibles. That's because lower people don't turn out as much. All right. As well. Okay. Now, presidentially, as Celinda also mentioned, seniors overall have been voting more Republican over the last number of years. The last Democrat to actually carry the 65-plus vote was Al Gore in 2000, when he carried it by a couple points. But it's been getting better. Barack Obama lost it to Romney by 12 points, people over 65. Hillary lost it 9 points. Biden only 5. You can see it's getting better, that Democrats have been gaining with seniors. Now, why is that? Here's an interesting point we say out. In 2008, when Barack Obama was elected president in a good electoral landslide, had well over 300 electoral votes, no baby boomer was over the age of 65, right? No baby boomer was over the age of 65 in 2008. Today, in 2024, 70% of the people over 65 are baby boomers. So the baby boomers have moved in to senior land, retiree land, and they bring with them more disposition to vote Democratic, which helps us. That's why these numbers are getting better for Democrats with seniors year over year, and it's especially important in the battleground states as well. Celinda mentioned that Pennsylvania is the key battleground state. Happens to be mine home state. I worked in the U.S. House and U.S. Senate for Pennsylvania Democrats. Always very important. Pennsylvania still has a lot of smaller communities as well, and it's important to get to them, to cut through, because a lot of, frankly, these local and smaller market TV stations have been bought up by some of these corporate conglomerates. Anybody ever hear of a company named Sinclair? Yes, they've bought up a lot of smaller communities, smaller market TV stations, and every night it's like Fox News Junior on their local TV broadcasts, which a lot of people, seniors especially, watch local news. Get the local news, the local weather. And when you're in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, for example, you now hear the Sinclair people saying, "We will take you to our terrorism center in D.C., you know, because a cat was up a tree, you know, down the street or something like that." But that is the dead truth in terms of a drumbeat, especially in smaller communities around as well. And as Congresswoman Schakowsky said, that is the way for us and our task to go out and counteract that. I just want to close with one more thing. We recently did a poll asking seniors in the 6 battleground states, who do you think's better on Social Security or Medicare? It's good for Harris versus Trump. That 5% is getting lower. Bad news is on the generics, only seeing the Democrats on issues between a 2 and 5% positive margin. You know, only 2 or 3% better generically. Who do you think's better on Social Security? Democrats versus Republicans. So this is what we have to cut through in the next 76 days. And there are many ways to do it. Talking to friends, neighbors, as Jan said, going through different ways, your communities, your faith groups, whatever. If you go play bingo or whatever, or you're going down and playing cards at the senior center, this is the message we have to take home, that the Harris-Walz ticket and Democrats down the line with people like Jan Schakowsky and John Larson are our heroes, not only for now, with what they've produced, better Medicare, cheaper prescription drugs, but what they can produce, better days ahead for Social Security and Medicare. So thank you very much. It was great being with all of us as we do at all of these meetings.
All right, that's Rich Fiesta from the Alliance for Retired Americans. And now traditionally at this meeting, there's always a legislative update from the President and CEO of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. So please welcome Max Richmond.
Thank you very much, John. I'm Max Richmond. I'm the head of the Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, founded over 40 years ago by a former congressman by the name of James Roosevelt. He retired from the House of Representatives, wanted to preserve what he felt was his father's greatest legacy, and his father was President Roosevelt. Created the organization in 1983, and we've been fulfilling that mission ever since. So you remember when at the beginning, I introduced John Larson, and I said after he's done, there won't be much more to say about Social Security. That's right. He really said it so well and so thoroughly, and the other speakers have followed up on that. So I just want to make a couple of very quick comments. John talked about the need to have a vote on Social Security, and he's right. Hundreds of members of Congress support legislation to improve it, have not been able to get a vote, and in fact have not been able to get a vote on much of anything to improve Social Security. And so when Steve Regenstrief, and I'm sorry Steve couldn't be here, asked me to give an update on Social Security legislation that's passed, that would take about 30 seconds because not much has happened. But what we need to be aware about is the bad things that are about to happen if we don't have the majority in the Congress, in the House, and the Senate, and in the White House with our candidates that we're supporting. So a couple things. Do you know who Senator Rick Scott is?
Yeah.
You know what he's up to? Yeah. He wants to sunset Social Security and Medicare every 5 years. What does that mean? That means every 5 years these programs, he's backing off of that now, but that means every 5 years these programs end and the Congress starts again to pass legislation to create Social Security and Medicare. Do you realize what a mess that would be? I have a friend who's a former congresswoman from California. She's on our board of directors. She and her colleagues wanted to name a post office after her in California. It took 2 years to get that through, to rename a post office in California. This is Lynn Woolsey, congresswoman and a good friend of seniors who served for a long time. So if it's that hard to rename a post office, try creating Social Security and Medicare from scratch, because that's what Senator Rick Scott wants to do. The other thing that could be on the horizon that's bad is what we've seen out of the House committee that's called the Republican Study Committee. They put out recommendations, and 80% of Republicans are part of that, including all of the leadership. And what do they want to do? They want to, and this has been talked about by Celinda and by Jan Schakowsky, raise the age for receiving Social Security. Anybody think that's a good idea?
No.
You know what I worry about, and I hope you, how many of you live in districts or states that have Republicans representing you in the House or the Senate? Okay. They're going to be campaigning. You need to go to their events. You know where Democrats stand on Social Security and Medicare. But what Republicans are trying to do is to divide not just a lot of people in general, but younger people and older people. And when the idea of raising the age comes up, they will say now to a person, we're not going to touch Social Security for anybody that's close to retirement. We're going to cut the age for retirement on Social Security for younger people, right? You hear that. So this is what they're doing after bombarding younger people for decades with a lot of misinformation, with a lot of myths about Social Security. You've heard them. It's not going to be there, right? It's broke. That's not true. Social Security has issues that need to be addressed. And I'll take your question in a second, that in the next few years, it is not broke, it is not bankrupt. The government did not steal the money. Undocumented workers are not stealing Social Security. That's not true. What is happening often is undocumented workers are able to get a phony number, and they pay into Social Security. Their employer pays in, but they can never collect because they don't have a real number. Just the opposite of what former President Trump is talking about. All of these myths are designed to undermine the confidence that people have in Social Security. So here's a good example. I just kind of thought about this in the last couple of weeks. First you convince younger people that it's not going to be there, and then you tell them we're going to make the retirement age higher for you when you get older. They don't care because they've been convinced that the program is bankrupt, it's not going to be there. So this is a tactic that I think is important for members of Congress that are campaigning, challengers as well as incumbents, need to be confronted. So those of you who raised your hand who live in districts or states that are represented by Republicans, you need to go to their events. It may be distasteful, but you need to go to their events and try to get them to answer the question about where they stand on Social Security. When I meet people and they find out what I do, everybody says, when they hear I'm with the Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, they say, I'm for that. I'm for that. That is not good enough. They need to answer, are you for preserving the program? Are you for cutting benefits? Are you for raising the retirement age? Which it has been explained to you by John Larson, is a cut in benefits. If you have to wait longer to get your Social Security, you're going to get less in Social Security. So they need to be asked not just whether they're for Social Security, whether they're for Medicare, but where do they stand on improving the program, how would they expand the solvency of the program, and not just say, I'm for it. So I hope you will do that, take that next step, and talk to people that are campaigning for Congress. The other, you know what a COLA is? Cost of living adjustment. This Republican Study Committee wants to change the way that is determined and have the Congress act on what the COLA is every year. What a nightmare that would be. We saw that before 1974. And we have a formula. I think it's flawed. I think the COLA is too small. You're going to get about a 2.6% COLA starting next year. I think that's too small because the way the COLA is determined is incorrect, and I think there are ways to improve that. We've been trying to have that happen for quite a while. The Medicare program, Jan talked about hearing aids. Yes, there are some over-the-counter hearing aids that are available now. That's a big improvement. Medicare should cover hearing aids. Medicare should cover dental. Medicare should cover vision, and it doesn't. And I hope that in the next Congress with a new administration, Harris-Walz administration, a Democratic majority in the House and the Senate, we can finally get hearing aids, dental, and vision covered by the Medicare program. And I don't know if is anybody here from AARP? AARP has done such a great job on promoting caregiving. And that's important, I'm sure, to everybody here. Family caregiving, being able to access home and community-based care. They have done a great job, and I want to publicly thank AARP for what they've done in making caregiving easier, having more access to caregiving. John, I'm going to wrap up here. I just want to, I know you acknowledged Heather Booth. Heather, thank you for all the organizing you've done. Heather gets us on the phone at least once a week. We had a call. There were 4,000 people on the call.
Yay.
And you made that happen.
Yes.
People that can,
Yes, yes.
you made that happen.
Yay, Heather.
And I want to thank Andrew Coburn, who's he's the editor of Harper's Magazine. He's a friend of mine, and he's covering this. And I hope we're saying all the right things you want to hear, Andrew. So thank you for coming. The last thing I'm going to say is John organized these entertainers, and we're going to listen to them now. We had a session. It was a kind of a practice Zoom session that John organized. We did it a couple weeks ago, and they all did a little bit of their performance. And John, I want to tell you, I listened to that, and it reminded me of being 14 years old in my cousin's basement recreation room in Omaha, Nebraska. I listened to all this music, and I remembered he was trying to teach me how to dance, and I was trying to find a girlfriend, and I failed and he failed. But thank you, John, and we'll look forward to the rest of the program. This lady, do you have a question?
Yeah, scrap the cap.
The amount that you pay, we will be solvent for the rest of our lives. Why, if you are making $2 million, do you only have to pay Social Security tax on $168,800?
It's $168,600. It changes a little bit every year. We're 100% with you.
But wait a minute, why can't we start a movement called Remove the Cap? We do.
Scrap the cap.
That's right.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yay, very good.
All right, thank you, Max.
Yay, good point.
Thank you, Max. Now, listen, there's a lot you can do, and we're still awaiting, further information from the campaign about where we're going to go on these issues. And when we get that information, you got to be 1,000% all in. There's stuff. We are an arm of the Harris-Walz campaign. Without Harrison-Walz winning, we will end up with nothing. So always bear that in mind. They must win, we must hold the Senate, and we must flip the House in order for us to accomplish anything. Otherwise, we're just stymied like we are now with Republicans in control of the House. So here's what you can do, among other things. I got all these doo-wop performers here. We've still got a bit of this program, then we got to gavel out real quick, and then you stay in this room. You don't have to go anywhere, and then we'll have a little bit of this fun. But you need to know what you can do, and one of the things you can do is get on our phone banks, our senior-to-senior phone banks. So write this down if you can, KamalaHarris.link/doo-wop phone banks. Every week, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, every Wednesday I'm having one of these people who are here today on with me to kick off a phone bank. And it doesn't take long. We're on there for, 10 minutes or so having a fun conversation about all the good stuff. And then you get to make phone calls and really do something that will help us win this election. Because at the end result, we can talk here forever, but it's all about, and it's about nothing but our effort. Yes, right.
Can we frame what you were talking about, scaring the youth? The Republicans scare the youth into thinking that it won't last. Can we frame that as voter suppression?
I mean, the simple answer to that is yes, but we've got an awful lot of things to frame. We've got a tremendous amount of stuff to run on. You know, this has been the best. You know, Kamala Harris was vice president in the administration that was the best administration for American seniors in over half a century. You got to go back to, you know, you can argue Johnson because Medicare was created during the Johnson administration. So that's basically where we're going back to, that nobody, and that includes Obama, and that includes Clinton, that includes everybody, you know, on our side, forget the other side, they have no interest in this at all. And by the way, Donald Trump has already said, quote, there's a lot we can do. He said this on CNBC. He didn't say it, you know, privately. He said it on television. There's a lot we can do in terms of cutting entitlements, okay? Number one, we don't use the word entitlements. There are benefits. But number two, he's talking about cutting Social Security and Medicare. And who wants to cut Social Security in America? Nobody. Not Republicans, not independents, not Democrats, obviously. These are the best crossover issues in the country to persuade independents and moderate Republicans to our side. The best issues. There's nothing better. Okay, we're going to wrap up pretty soon on this part of the program. But first, I'm going to reintroduce Maria Cordone, who is, of course, from the Machinists Union, as many of you probably know. And she is the executive vice chair of this Seniors Council, and she's going to introduce our next guest.
Thank you, Maria.
Hi, everybody. Hi. Real quickly, this council was started in 1997. We testified before the DNC. We were able to have we have enjoyed for 8 years, 8 conventions, this opportunity to get together. So I'm really proud that we've done that. So I thank you for being here, I want to cut this short, and I want to introduce our next speaker. Melanie Reraio comes from Florida. She is the president and CEO of Elderly Housing Development Corporation. And I am so proud to be sitting on this board. It's elderly housing throughout the country. She's going to talk to you about 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes about what it is. And I want to thank the seniors that have come from the housing here in Chicago. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to bring up Melanie. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. You're welcome, Melanie. Where are my seniors? Hi, guys. Yay. Okay, so I'm always the one that speaks last before the fun, so I am going to take, and I have a cheat sheet, so I'm going to be cool. We do? Oh, yay, somebody's after me, so I'll go even faster. So I first want to thank the Senior Council. Thank you so much. And of course, my dear Maria. She has been an EDOC board member and a treasurer for over 20 years, and she is a special friend, a beautiful person, and someone that brought me here today. Thanks to the council for allowing me to speak today to talk about EHDOC. That's the quickest way to say it. Elderly Housing Development and Operations Corporation is a mouthful. EHDOC.org. Look us up. Jeff? See who we are. We are the best kept secret. That's what we kind of call ourselves, the best kept secret. We're in 56 states. We're in 56 buildings, 14 states, including DC and Puerto Rico. We have 5 properties here in Chicago. All of my purple shirts, Elderly Housing Development Operations Corporation back there, Housing with a Heart, you'll see on their shirts. It's bigger than this pin, but it's Housing with a Heart. That's who we are. We are Housing with a Heart, and we wear this badge proudly. You'll see my senior vice president of Operations and Development, Roland Bouchard. This is the man that's going to build and help build our new buildings, rehab, Melissa Tarrant, Vice President. Melissa, stand up for me, please. Vice President of Field Operation. 22 years. I know you can't believe it's 22 years because she looks like she's 10, but 22 years she's been with this very organization. It's been the same organization. This is where she's been her entire career. And I've been with the organization. My name is Melanie Reraio, the President and CEO, as Maria said. I've been with the organization for 10 years. And we are also union proud. 91% of our employees are with the union. 91% are union. Local 1 here in Chicago are buildings. And I do want to say some of the things that make me the proudest is when I go visit the buildings. And our seniors want to take me to go see their home. And then they show me their phone of pictures of the roaches and the ceilings that were leaking and what they were living in before and what they're living in now. So we're very, very proud about that. I also was very close to my grandparents. Unfortunately, they're no longer with us. And my dad passed in 2016, so I have my mom who is a senior. I speak to her at least 2 or 3 times a day. And today, we're celebrating something that I didn't know until my mom texted me, but it is National Senior Citizen Day today. National Senior Citizen Day today, August 21st. In 1988, Ronald Reagan made a proclamation to say that today everyone was going to celebrate our seniors. So we have that to celebrate. We have the fact that ehddoc.org, don't forget that please, ehddoc.org, is going to build more buildings. We need that inventory though. We need land, we need buildings, we need more, and the only way that that's going to happen, and I am hopeful, I am inspired, I am so excited to celebrate another thing, and that's when President Kamala Harris becomes the president, so all of us can celebrate together, we can build more buildings, and we can help with the affordable housing for our seniors.
That's right.
Thank you so much, everybody. God bless each and every one of you. Maria, thank you so much, and God bless America. Thank you.
All right, let's hear it from Melanie. Housing, that's the real stuff, guys. This is really where the rubber meets the road in terms of our accomplishments. And Melanie, it turns out you are the last person again. So we're going to wrap up this portion of the meeting, but everybody stay exactly where you are, please, because we stay in the same room. We're going to go into this next event, which is coming right up. But first, we need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I so move.
Okay, is there a second to adjourn this meeting? There is a second. All in favor of adjourning this portion of the Seniors Coordinating Council meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Everybody's in favor of it. Everybody come up here. All the doo-wop artists, come up here. Come up here and move to these chairs.
Yeah, I'm gonna move.
Everybody. Everybody come up here. This is going to be kind of the fun part of things. At least we think it's going to be fun. I'm going to come down for 1 second. Everybody come up to the front, if you will. Let's move the audience to the front if you feel like it. Definitely let's get all the artists up here. All right, we're going to play this part of things up here. We're going to play this part of things up here. This is something like Max said. Actually, we did like a lot of these in 2020. It's not really brand new. We did a bunch of these in 2020 for the Biden-Harris campaign, and they were really successful, and people loved them. Remember, go on these phone banks. Go on these phone banks. They're very important. You can volunteer. KamalaHarris.link/doowop phone banks. DOOWOP phone banks. Every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Just right here in the front would be great, yeah. So we don't have big, long entrances and stuff. Okay, everybody who's going to be, oh, you're taking a picture? Then when you go back into the crowd, say yes. KamalaHarris.link/doowop phone banks. KamalaHarris.link/doowop phone banks. Yes, exactly like that. DOOWOP PHONE banks. Okay, Maria, when they... All right, so what we're going to do is bring up some of these great artists from the 50s and the 60s. As soon as things settle down a little bit, we're going to start this new meeting. It's a completely new meeting. Melanie, are they willing to stay and fill in here, or at least some of them? They have a bus? Oh. Okay. Yeah, they're taking a picture, but they're going on the bus. Yeah. Well, I want the artists up here so we don't have big, long entrances. Okay. Hey, how are you? All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to hear from some artists from the 50s and the early 60s, and one who's quite a bit younger than that. And we're going to basically be going over the reasons that you should vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, according to them. And there'll be a little bit of music involved as well. So we want to thank all the sponsors of this event, and I'll get to them individually a little bit later. But I think it's better for us to just dive right in and start the event now. So the first person I'm going to bring up, everybody settle in. The first person I'm going to bring up is one of my oldest and closest friends. And by oldest, I mean I've just known him a long time. But he's also amazing in the sense that he's in his 80s somewhere and still sings the song "The Lion Sleeps Tonight" in the key of F, which was its original key. And for those of us who deal with music a lot, this is actually impossible. Like, you can't do this. But somehow, Jay Siegel has lived his life so well that he can actually sing "The Lion Sleeps Tonight" in the key of F. Now, I'm sure you'd love to hear "The Lion Sleeps Tonight" and those wonderful words "whim away," or that wonderful word "whim away" that gets extended over a beautiful musical phrase. But for tonight, he's actually turned out to have changed the words to the song a little bit. So please welcome my good friend, the guy who sang "The Lion Sleeps Tonight" that everybody from 2 to 92 loves and has heard. Here he is. Here he is, the incomparable, and I truly mean it, incomparable Jay Siegel.
Oh. Oh, I thought we were all going to sit up, but we're not doing that. Okay. So what do you want me to do? Okay.
So you're going to tell them why they should vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Well, I don't know how much more I can say. It's been, an F chord.
No, you just say the stuff from your heart.
From my heart. Okay. Well, in our business, when we're not, when we get to be a certain age, over, what, do I look my age? I don't know. Anyhow, when we are not working, in show business, and if you're an entertainer, in between your jobs, even the biggest superstars, we're unemployed. Even people like Tom Cruise or people, they're not working, they're unemployed. So when we reach a certain age and we depend on Social Security because we're not working, and if times are a little bad or, that really is a very big help. So it's very important for people, for everybody, but especially in our business, because, we never know where the next job is coming from. But that's, I'll make it sweet, and that's a personal, statement from me about how it affects me, personally.
Would you like an F?
Well, you may remember this song. It originally, should I give him a little bit of the original or no? I do. Yeah? Oh, you do? Okay, well, we made this record in 1961 and 62, and it became a worldwide hit all over the world. In fact, it was #1 in 36 countries all over the world. You want me to tell the granddaughter? So when we're talking about The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Can you all see me? Yeah, okay. There was a movie that came out a bunch of years ago called The Lion King, which was I guess the most successful animated film in the history of movies. And we were fortunate enough to have The Lion Sleeps Tonight in that movie. And the movie was such a big hit that RCA Victor, that was our original record company, they re-released The Lion Sleeps Tonight. It was 40 years later, and it became a worldwide hit all over the world again for the second time. But more importantly, we then acquired a brand new audience of 5-year-old kids. So I tell this story all over, every place we work, all over the world. But when the record was a hit for the second time, my granddaughter was in kindergarten, and she told all the kids in her class, my grandpa sings that song. And of course, wait a minute. Hello? I'm waiting. That's me. I just wanted to, I'm here. All right. Never mind anybody. Anyway, my granddaughter was in kindergarten, and she told everybody in her, in her class, my grandpa sings that song. Oh, yeah. Oh, he sings it in the garage. He sings it in the shower. Nobody believed that her grandpa sang this song. So she came home very, very upset, telling her mom, none of the kids in my class believed that, that grandpa made that record. So she was very, very upset. So anyway, she got together with my wife, and they had a meeting with the principal of the school. And one day, my granddaughter brought me into her kindergarten class for show and tell. Then she was very, very popular after that, So. And she's 27 years old now, by the way, She's 27, and I told her she's famous all over the world. So anyway, the original song went, a little bit. Does that sound like the record? Thank you very much. Good night. But we got it now. The revised lyrics. Kamala, Kamala, let's vote Trump away. Kamala, Kamala, let's vote Trump away today. Yeah, let's vote him away. John.
Jay Siegel, let's hear it. Thank yous. Yeah, I mean, I have related stories. I've knocked on doors all over, the country for 20 years at least. I can't do it anymore because I can't walk that well. But and I'm completely shameless. I just knock on the door, and I say, I'm Bowser from Sha-Na-Na, and I'm here to support, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, whatever. And, mostly then people go like, oh, wait, you really are him. And then I go like, bum, 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 dang, 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 ding, dong, ding. Vote for Harris and Walz. And they go like, okay, you really are him. But, the phone banks I'm telling you guys to get on, they don't really work that well for me because I do the same thing on the phone bank. I say I'm Bowser from Sha-Na-Na, and they go like, oh, yeah, and I'm Barack Obama. because you just can't prove it to them. They refuse to believe you over the phone. But when you make the phone calls, they're going to be effective, and I make the phone calls, and I'm just exactly as effective as you. We are all equally effective, and we are all important when we go on these phone banks. Okay, next guest. This is a record also that every one of you has heard. This is a gentleman who lives in Chicago. So he didn't have to travel to get here, but he still had to navigate McCormick Place, which wasn't the easiest thing in the history of the world. He is known to everybody as the Duke of Earl. He's also one of the only people, by the way, who had hit records in two different eras, basically, because he had a big hit called Groovy Situation that was much later than Duke of Earl in a completely different style. So a very unique entertainer and a very smart guy politically. Please welcome Gene Chandler. The Duke.
Duke of Earl, Duke of Earl, Duke of Earl, Duke. Vote for Biden. For Harrison Walls, Harrison Walls, Harrison Walls. Vote for Harrison Walls. As I walk through this world, nothing can stop Harrison and Walls. They'll walk through my dukedom, and the White House they will share. And as Kamala say, we're not going back. We're going to fight, and we're going to fight until we win. Thank you, and God bless.
The Duke. Let's hear from the Duke of Earl, from right here in Chicago. All right, now we're not, especially for this election, we're not going to just have a bunch of guys up here, right? Right. Now, there were those things in the 60s called the girl groups, right? I guess it's still okay, kind of. I don't know, to use that label. Yeah, you think it's okay? Yeah, it's still okay. But there were also solo performers in the late 50s and the early 60s. And there's someone here tonight who recorded a song that everybody in this room has heard and loves. When she was, I believe, 15 years old or maybe 14 years old. The two women who are here tonight with us have this in common, that these records were recorded really when they were kids. This is like my favorite rewrite. Coming up is my favorite rewrite of any song today that we're going to present, because the original record that you're all familiar with is called I Will Follow Him. Yeah. So Peggy March gets to change those lyrics today for the first time in her entire history. Please welcome my friend Peggy March. Where are you? Peg. Oh, yeah.
Hi, John.
Hi, Peg. Tell them why they should vote for Kamala.
What? Oh, okay. Hello. This is great. Okay. First of all, I'm really, really happy to be here. Really, really honored to have been asked to be here. However, I am not politically savvy. I told John this.
Yes, you are.
Oh, yes, I am. Okay. That's because when we talk on the phone, he does all the talking, and all I do is nod, you see. Because John is. But in any case, I started very, very young. I've been in show business all my life, but I was 15 when the record came out, and that's, I don't know, kind of young, I guess. In any case, I've traveled all over the world, and I continue to travel, and mostly Germany, and I'll be there for the event, the big event of the voting event for the election. However, I won't be here to vote, but I will be absentee vote. So I'm getting that as soon as I can, and there's no doubt about it. Pardon? Did you say something?
Vote by mail.
Oh, yeah, vote by mail. That's not called absentee voting?
Yeah, same thing.
Oh, same thing. Thank you. Whew, man, Like I said, I'm not very savvy in this. In any case, I am now a widow as well as a senior citizen for some time now, actually. And of course, these things are really, really important to me. So I heard a lot of important things today. I'm with them all the way, and this is a good thing. Of course, the other side has to hear all of these good things, and they have to believe that we have the right answer here. Okay, Kamala and Tim. That's, really important. So you're going to play for me a introduction. Yeah, go ahead. Good, John. I will follow her wherever she may go. There isn't an ocean too deep, a mountain so high it can keep me away from my vote for Kamala. That works really well. Yes. Do I want to do it one more time? Glutton for punishment. Okay. I will follow her. Is that because I got the word wrong? Follow her wherever she may go. There isn't an ocean too deep, a mountain so high it can keep me away from my vote. You ready for Kamala? Here we are. And you do too. And you too.
That was fun. I know. These are totally unrehearsed. Like usually on Zoom, we've just been doing them, a cappella, because you can't use a piano or anything on Zoom because of the delay, and everybody sings it, ends up singing at a different time. So now that we're for once all in the same room, we do a lot of shows together, which is fun. But for the political stuff, we've all talked about politics with each other for years and years and years. And this is a rare occasion when we get to talk about the political stuff in this room, with each other. So we're going to have a big closing number that we've also is completely unrehearsed and we have no idea what we're doing. But hopefully you're enjoying this so far. Okay. Because these are really people, just like everybody, yes, Peg's right. I talk about Social Security and Medicare, and, I made myself into an expert on senior issues, thanks to somebody else who's here, Alex Larson from Social Security Works, who is the executive director. And our co-founder, Nancy Altman, probably, I think it's fair to say, does know more about Social Security than pretty much anybody in America. She is regularly hears from the Social Security Commissioner asking her questions about Social Security. So we are well trained, but the artists here are people just like everybody, who understand what's important, in our lives and the way in which political activity affects regular life on a daily basis. We all know we're in trouble here. If this election, there is the constant din of this is the most important election of our lives. We've said this for probably the last 8 elections, maybe. But this one really is, because this one, everything is on the ballot. Democracy is on the ballot. Reproductive freedom is on the ballot. Senior issues are on the ballot. What is not on the ballot? Nothing. Everything is on the ballot, and everyone's life is going to be affected by the results of this election in a way that maybe no other election in American history, bears the importance of this one. So, just no pressure, no pressure on how important this is, but I'm going to ask the original lead singer of the Crystals, Lala Brooks, who is always outspoken, right? And I love her, and Lala recorded, okay, anybody ever heard the song "To Do Run Run"? Like everybody in the world has heard the song "To Do Run Run." But when you really hear that, when you hear that song, this is the voice of Do Run Run. And how old were you when you sang it?
13.
13.
I was 15 when I joined. I was 13 when I joined the group, and I was 15 when I recorded To Do Run Run, and then he kissed me. Yeah.
Oh, and then he kissed you also? Oh, was that oh, you mean the song? Yeah, I knew that. I, of course, knew that. She was the original lead singer of the group, and the first two big hits of the Crystals were To Do Run Run, and then He Kissed Me. So here she is, Lala Brooks.
How you doing, everyone? If I got this paper in my hand because I'm forgetful, so I had to write something down when we had to. But anyway, I want to tell you it's an honor to be here. And like John was saying, we're just human, we're normal. We have our ups and we have our downs. You know, financially, just like you guys. So the Social Security is important to us, just as it's important to you. Because sometimes when we don't work for months, we wait for the check to come in. So it's real, it's reality. Another thing is reality that I know they didn't speak up on it tonight, this afternoon, but when I was a little girl and I joined the group at 13 years old, I witnessed so many things with racism when I was a child. And when I came home mixed up, you know, black people in our day, they couldn't afford, like, psychiatrists. They couldn't afford, you know, to go to someone and talk to a therapist. Black people didn't even know about therapists, you know. So we had to deal with it with our parents, telling us it's going to be okay, that you're special and white people are special. Nobody is different. So why it's so important about Kamala and Tim is to stop the racism. I've been dealing with racism since I'm 13 years old. I'll be 77. No, I just turned 77, and it's still happening. So there's a problem. So when I heard her say that they was worried because of Kamala's color, that's like history repeating itself, which is so wrong. So anybody here, whether you're white or whether you're black, you tell that next person, whether it's next door to you, if they have that thought of, we don't want her to be president because she's black, think of me as a little girl, 13, and when I was on a Dick Clark tour, and all the white people were going to the bathroom, and I went up to I was following them, you know, the white artists that was on tour with us. We had no problem with racism, with the white artists. We were just like one, brother and sister. But when it came to the outside world, we had a problem. So I go to the bathroom, we stopped at a gas station, and all the white kids was going into the bathroom, women and men. I went up there and the man stopped me. He had a straw, I'm only 14 years old at the time, in his mouth. And I, you know, walking like a little kid because I got to go to the bathroom. I said, could I go to the toilet? He said, nigger gal, you don't understand. I said, yes. I said, all I want to do is go to the bathroom. He said, you ain't going in here. I said, what do I do? As a 14-year-old, he said, go your ass behind them bushes. And I remember as a child, going in the bushes and using toilet paper, which wasn't toilet paper. We had to use leaves. So when you think about it strongly. At 13, and now I'm 77, and it's still some of the same problem. So we have to deal with this, and it's sad to say, but it's reality. So thank you so much. I thought I would remember, so I wrote it down just in case I didn't. And I wrote, Joe endorsed Kamala on a Sunday, and our hearts stood still. To do run, 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 to do run, run. And then I wrote, then Kamala picked her own partner. His name was Tim. To do run, 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 to do run, run. Yes, we will win. Yes, we will win. Do run, run, run. Do run, run.
All right, Lala. Lala's just, you would not believe this. You know, I wish we had a band and, we were doing a real musical show, because you would not believe her version of Proud Mary, of the Tina Turner, Proud Mary. She's amazing at 77. I can't even believe it. Same age as me, but you're in much better shape than I am. And you know what? Let's just say for a minute, for those of us who are older, I do think we forget what's been accomplished in our lifetime, particularly in the area that Lala's talking about. Like, probably that's been our best thing, is how much progress has been made from the time that they wouldn't let you go to that bathroom, and it's all been us. Let's face it, guys. It's Democrats. Everything you can point to that has made progress in this area of equality has been done by Democrats, and yet we still have so much more to do. So just like Lala said, it's one of the biggest reasons, once again, why we have to elect Kamala and Tim. Now we've got some more performers that you're familiar with. The next guy I'm going to introduce is from right here in Chicago, and that's why I asked him to come back, because he was the lead singer of a group called the Buckinghams from the 60s. So if there's Chicagoans in this audience, you're all proud of the Buckinghams, and everybody else knows the Buckinghams. But he didn't know it at the time. When Dennis Tufano was lead singer of the Buckinghams, their biggest song of all was written about the Trump administration. They were way ahead of their time, because the biggest Buckingham song ever was called Kind of a Drag. And what could have been a bigger drag than the Trump administration? So please welcome Dennis Tufano. What are you going to do with that?
Hey. Thank you. Good night. How do you follow that? Talking about Social Security now, when I was a younger kid, and I started out when I was like 19 in the band back in Chicago, here in Chicago. And when we weren't working, I had to go find part-time jobs to kind of continue and get things going in between the shows. And back then, which was the 60s, early 60s, our paychecks weren't that big anyway, as musicians. And as musicians, which a lot of people don't understand, is that we don't get insurance for our jobs. We have no benefits. And so now, as I'll be 78 very soon, and that Social Security check is very important in between our shows, especially the older we get. Come right in. Yeah. And so this thing about Social Security that John's behind all the time, it's okay. I'm going to get one of those. Yeah, okay. And so what happens is that my big issue right now about Social Security is this tax. That I find that, we paid into our Social Security, and then they tax us on it as if it's income. And it's not income. It's something that we planned on getting for everyone in the country. So I hope that we can make that work. And yeah, God bless America, I think,
Let me say something about that. Let me just say something about that and this issue. John Larson, who was here earlier, was everybody here when Larson spoke? Some bozo who's all over television, standing in front of signs that say, no more taxes on Social Security, this guy named Trump, he's very late to the party on this. John Larson's bill that he described, Social Security 2100, has addressed this problem since he introduced the bill, has addressed the issue of, he mentioned WEP GPO, which is a big issue for a lot of public employees. He mentioned the COLA, changing the way your COLA is calculated. And also in his bill addresses the issue of taxes on Social Security. What Larson's bill does that the other guys don't even begin to do at all, because they're basically still talking about cutting, is figure out how to pay for this expansion of Social Security. And the way you're going to have to pay for this expansion of Social Security is something Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans would do literally over their dead bodies, which is tax the uber wealthy people in America who don't pay in one more cent over $168,600 of income. That's what needs to be done, right? So these slogans and these ridiculous, it's like, just say whatever you want to just try to get votes, that ain't going to work, guys. What happens in America that is successful are things like the Inflation Reduction Act, where it's paid for, things like Obamacare, where it's paid for, and that's what we do. They don't ever do it at all. They run up the deficit that they complain so wildly about, and as soon as they get into office, that's the first thing that they do. And then as soon as they get out of office, they start complaining about the deficit. So really understand where we're at in these things. And you got to fight back on these slogans that don't mean anything and don't work. We are going to change the structure of taxing Social Security, just like you say.
I'm glad I brought that up. It is important. It is important. Yeah. Well, I have friends on Taylor Street here that would like to fix that too. It's like restaurant owners and such. But this is the song that you were talking about. This is. Harrison Walls, there are candidates, say it loud. Harrison Walls, stand out in the crowd. Oh, listen to what they have to say. They will lead us to fix our country every day, every way, every day. Kamala and Wall. Thank you. Thank you very much, John.
I don't know, you want to hear an encore of that, or what do you think? Huh? That was really good. Dennis, do it one more time, because, here, do it one more time. That was really good.
I don't know if I'll remember it twice. I'm a senior citizen. Kamala Walls, they're great candidates. Shout it loud. Kamala Walls. I was literally tripped up, but I'm okay. Oh, listen to what they have to say. They will lead us in our country every way, every way, every day. Kamala Walls.
Dennis Stefano. All right. Now, unfortunately, it turns out that the first part of this program ran so far over that we're now in a hurry. So I'm just going to blast through these last couple of people Although the first person that I have to cheat on time a little bit, but it won't be too much, is literally like my oldest friend in the whole wide world. Not that we used to call him the kid in Shanana, but now he's 72. So yeah, he said when we reconnected after being apart for quite a few years, on the phone he said, "Bowser," he said, "I'm not the kid anymore." And that was true. This is one of the best singers that anyone has ever heard. Please welcome my friend from Shanana, Johnny Cantardo.
Oh my God. It is an honor to be here tonight. I get so emotional about this, listening to Jamie, listening to Lala's story. Lala told a story when we were on Zoom once about her dad, and it just blows me away. I just can't comprehend it. I realize how lucky my grandparents were when I hear about Jamie's, parents. It's just truly amazing. I just wish Kamala, we don't talk enough about this. I hope she can take the Republicans off of Mars, and just bring them back down to Earth. I wish for that, but good luck with that. I met you when I was 19. You were 23, 24. I cannot believe we're here. We still perform together. And by the way, Jay, Bowser had mentioned that Jay still sings The Lion Sleeps Tonight in the same key. I cannot sing those magic changes in the same key because I lived a degenerate lifestyle. So anyway. That is not true. No, it's not true. Tell me what you want me to play. Those magic changes, those magic changes, Kamala arranges for lower drug prices than ever before for Social Security. Your check will be more. I beg you, please vote for her. Please volunteer for her. Ooh, 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 ooh. And Tim Waltz. Thank you. Bowser! Love you.
I'd have him do it again, but we're running out of time. Plus, he says he can never do it. It's too hard to do it again. No, you're not. No, you're not. This guy, he and I talk politics all the time, probably too much. And he is one of the most dedicated Democrats that I have ever met. So, all right, and our final performer that we're going to bring up before we do our grand finale is a ringer in the sense that he's not even a senior. Right, he's what we might call a junior senior. How old are you now? About 50? 50 plus, yeah. Yeah, so he's getting there. He's getting there. We're going to protect his Social Security, and in fact, we're going to expand it, right? So, but what is unusual about this guy, and you'll see, when you see him, you'll understand that he is the son of Jackie Wilson. Right, so remember Jackie Wilson, one of the truly great entertainers, singers, performers of all time? Bobby Wilson is the son of Jackie Wilson. He looks like him. He sounds like him. I mean, there's no, okay, I'll give you a little insight into something. And I can't even play this thing. I don't know what we're going to do. I'll try it. I may try, but you might be better off doing it a cappella. Yeah. But Bobby is going to do part of a song that really nobody should touch, after Jackie Wilson. All of us know enough not to try to do the Jackie Wilson material because it's impossible, because Jackie Wilson was that kind of a talent. So please welcome our junior senior representing the younger generation, Bobby Wilson, the son of Jackie Wilson.
Thank you, Bowser. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me up here. And I have to say, I'm a retired Navy veteran, so freedom is not free. I know very much of it. But with all the problems that we have in America, this is the best place in the world to live and to raise a family. I've been all over. I had that chance to be exposed to it. And one thing I wanted to add was when I was a child, I had a lot of problems when I came in the world. Born in Westbury, Long Island, New York, raised in Columbia, South Carolina in a foster home. And I had rickets at the bones, and I had my feet pointed in, so they had to break my legs and operate on both feet. So I wore a cast for 3 years, and I wore a bracelet, the Forrest Gump bracelet, from my stomach down till I was 12 years old. And then when I saw the movie Forrest Gump, that was me running from bullies in my bracelet when I was young. But it made me a strong person. And now I carry the legacy of Jackie Wilson, keep his music alive. And so we definitely have to vote in Kamala Harris and Tim, because we need the good back in this country. And we need to love one another as we love ourselves, and we need to be one country, united, everyone. Not just the red and the blue and the green and the white. No, just one. And so that's my message. Here's the little song. Here's the little ditty.
Yeah, do it.
Your love is lifting me higher than I ever been lifted before. So come on, love, keep us higher with Harris at your side forevermore. You know your love keep on lifting higher, higher and higher. You know your love keep on lifting me, keep on lifting us higher and higher. Thank you.
That's a dry run.
Bobby Wilson, let's hear it. Because you know it, this administration that we're going to elect in November is going to lift us higher and higher. Right, that's really the theme song of today. All right, we're going to bring everybody up here. Everybody come back up here, all the artists. Grab these mics. I got to take this one to the piano, but grab all of those. We're all going to sing the closing song, because every show I've ever done has ended with this song. This isn't really a show, but it's like a show.
Come this way. I can't get any closer.
And it's going to end with this song. You have known the song as Good Night, Sweetheart. Well, it's time to go, traditionally. But I sent out the alternate lyrics to these guys. Hopefully they'll get it right.
I did.
Hopefully they're going to get it right. Hold on.
You got a bunch of seniors up here, so what do you mean?
So instead of Good Night, Sweetheart, well, it's time to go, we're going to sing the song that most applies to the 2024 election. Everybody. Do-do-do-do-do. Good night, Donald Trump. Well, it's time to go. Do-do-do-do-do. Good night, Donald Trump. Well, it's time to go. Do-do-do-do. Don't hate to leave you, but we really must say good night, Donald Trump. Good night. Do-do-do-do-do-do. One more time. Good night, Donald Trump. Well, it's time to go. Do-do-do-do-do. Good night, Donald Trump. Well, it's time to go. Do-do-do-do. Don't hate to leave you, but we really must say good night, Donald Trump. Good night. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Good night, Donald Trump. Good night. And take J.D. Vance with you. Good night, Donald Trump. Vote for Kamala and Tim. Because